In Part 1 of the lesson on externalities, you learned that a market has failed when it results in either an over or an under allocation of resources towards a particular product. In other words, it is not allocatively efficient. In this lesson, we will explore what happens when a market provides too much of a particular good or service that harms society. Examples of this situation, called a negative externality, are pollution, excessive traffic, or even littering. A negative externality is defined as a situation when the production or consumption of a product creates external harm to a third party not involved in the market transaction or for society as a whole. Suppose you notice that there is a lot of litter along the side of the road in your community that falls out of private garbage trucks headed to the dump just beyond your town. The litter is aesthetically unpleasing, decreases property values, and takes time for local volunteers to pick up. In other words, there are spillover costs that owners of the garbage companies don't pay. This is a negative externality. Look at a basic supply and demand graph for litter. Notice that demand equals marginal social benefits as well as marginal private benefits. The supply curve is the marginal private cost to the garbage companies. If they had to pay to clean up the litter they leave along the side of the road, their costs would be much greater. That means supply is in the wrong spot. It should actually be to the left of the market supply curve because there are costs to society that are not borne by the garbage companies. We label this supply curve marginal social cost. Notice that if we produce where marginal social cost equals marginal social benefit, we will produce a smaller quantity, which I have labeled Q socially optimal, and at a higher cost labeled P socially optimal than the free market value. Since marginal social costs are higher than marginal private costs, there are external costs that garbage companies don't pay. The negative externality actually creates a deadweight loss or loss of social welfare, as shown by this triangle. If we can reduce the deadweight loss by moving marginal private costs to equal marginal social costs, your neighborhood will be better off. How can the government deal with negative externalities to make the garbage companies more efficient? One solution would be to levy a tax on the garbage companies. The size of the tax should be equal to the amount of the externality as indicated on the graph. The tax will lead to a lower quantity demanded as marginal private costs increase, shifting supply to the left. As you can see, when the tax is implemented, consumer and producer surplus decrease, and the government gains tax revenue as indicated by the box on the graph. The corrective tax eliminates the deadweight loss because we are producing at the socially optimal output. This example looks at the externality from the view of overproduction. What would happen if the externality was caused by overconsumption? Let's look at the use of plastic bags. Every year around 500 billion plastic bags are used worldwide. Plastic bags are difficult and costly to recycle, and most end up on landfill sites where they take around 300 years to degrade. They break down into tiny toxic particles that contaminate the soil and waterways and enter the food chain when animals accidentally ingest them. The market for plastic bags looks like this. Because the good is overconsumed, marginal private benefit is greater than marginal social benefit. This results in external costs. If the government wants to correct this externality, they might choose to place an excise tax on plastic bags. The tax will shift the cost of production, increasing the price to the socially optimal output, thus decreasing the quantity demanded of plastic bags because the marginal private benefit decreases at the higher price. The result is production at the socially optimal level. There are other solutions to negative externalities. In addition to taxes, make sure to study tradable permits, regulations, and a code solution. Make sure to study negative externalities to ensure you fully understand this type of market failure. This is Mrs. Miller wishing you a great FLVS day.